I'm Redhead Benson, and I'm back to talk about coronavirus and weddings. Well, when I say I'm back, my voice is back. My appearance is not ready for the camera because the greys have taken over my life. But I do have a special guest today, and extreme times call for extreme measures when it comes to bringing on a special guest. If you don't know, I'm married myself, and I do a photography company, and the other half of the photography company, some of you might know him as many names, but most of you know him as Benny.
Big drum roll introduction.
Benny, welcome to my podcast.
It is technically your podcast, but I think I had a little bit to do with the background work that was going on. I'm just glad the camera's not on.
Oh, we couldn't do that. I mean, like if you can just imagine the two of us are sitting here in our pajamas. I've got grey hairs coming out, like literally grey hairs coming out everywhere. Benny's beard, like Gandalf. Like
we're two hairy monsters.
Oh man, it's pretty epic. But we do have a hair appointment for July 20th.
We do?
We do. We're having a husband and wife hair appointment.
No, I didn't sign up for this. I'm quite happy with my hair the way it is, and I think that I'm going to grow a big curly beard. I'm quite impressed with your man from Unorthodox, and I like his style. I want epic curls of that proportion.
You're not Jewish.
It's not about being Jewish, it's about being hip.
If you go around with two permed pieces of girls, people will be like, oh, look at your man. He must be Jewish.
I actually went to a Jewish school. There were six Jewish people.
Are you Jewish? Am I learning this now?
No, our relationship has been a bit deep and close that I think you would know whether I was Jewish or not, Laura.
Fair enough.
But maybe that's not appropriate for
Probably
this conversation.
Probably isn't appropriate for this. We should keep this PG if we can.
PG. So
at least just, maybe 16s. We'll see.
We'll think.
We'll see.
Think
we'll
about
see.
it.
We'll see.
Yeah.
So, we're going to talk about the coronavirus. We're going to talk about weddings. We're going to talk about, can I say, the show that is 2020?
You're not allowed to say shit because then I have to mark it as explicit.
Okay.
So I'm going to try beep those out or cut those out.
Right.
And we'll cut the cursing and we'll cut the talking about regions.
Oh, I'm going to make your editing so much harder. I'm just going to throw in, swear words everywhere.
No, please don't.
Okay. I promise I won't.
Okay, but we're going to talk about weddings. Do you remember weddings?
I do. It was so lovely. I was looking back on memories when we used to be running around at weddings having great crack with all the suppliers and people were getting married and people were happy.
The last wedding we did was actually a brilliant one to finish up on, wasn't it? Because the characters were absolutely epic and the faces that were pulled by Stephen, if I remember correctly.
Stephen, it was so much fun. Clean and Stephen, it was the last wedding, and I'm so delighted that they actually managed to creep that in towards the end.
It was an epic one to finish up on.
It was an epic one.
Yeah.
It was, to be fair. But now that that's done.
That's one. I think we need to, before we kind of get back into kind of the last wedding we did, because we will talk about that, but what about where we are now? We need to explain where we are in the time frame of the coronavirus in Ireland and how it's impacting weddings. So...
Well, I can't believe it's been 8 weeks.
So it's 8 weeks,
8 weeks since the coronavirus became a household word that was used probably in every sentence, every conversation. And then about
But actually we
weeks.
had a family crisis in February because of the coronavirus.
We did?
Do you remember?
No. Am I losing my mind?
Our child wanted to go to Dublin.
Oh yes.
And you were like, yeah, sure, go on, you'd be grand.
She wanted to go, wasn't the script?
So the script, we're having the concert in Dublin. Our child, although we call her the child, she's actually 18. Yeah. She's 18 this summer and she won't get to have an 18th birthday party.
We're the worst parents. Don't laugh.
Okay,
poor child.
So the poor child actually in 2020 organised to go to 5 concerts.
Yeah.
She went
all of them.
She got a summer job last summer and she spent
Worked
all
her
of her
ass
money on 5 concerts, and some of them were festivals and some of them were camping festivals. So this summer was supposed to be epic as an 18-year-old, and actually every single one of them has either been cancelled or postponed.
Yep.
So in February she wanted to go up to Dublin on a bus with 3 mates, and we were like, yeah, go for it. Sure, the coronavirus, that's not in Ireland. It'd be grand.
We were the really irresponsible parents because the other parents were like, no,
Oh.
you can't let them do that. But we were like, yeah, you'd be grand, love. Just don't touch things. You'll be fine. Here's some hand sanitizer. Off you go. Enjoy yourself.
Now, to be honest, we gave her a huge brief, and we're cool out that we will let our child do a lot of things, but we speak straight to them, whether it's sex, drugs, or rock and roll. We tell them how it is, and we give her strict rules as to how she was to behave, from everything to how she was to open a door on a train, to use the toilet on a train. So we were that extreme, and the coronavirus was not in Ireland in February, but we were beginning to become aware of it as a global problem. It hadn't become a major issue in Italy. So at the start of March-ish, not if even the second week in March, third week in March.
I knew people that were still going skiing.
Yeah,
they were still heading off.
We met a couple, and they were supposed to get married, and the groom was actually going kind of on a stag ski holiday-ish to go skiing. Don't think it was to Italy, it might have been to France, but he was still considering it, but he was also aware of the alerts, and he was keeping track of the alerts. But as it transpired, he probably didn't go because it all kicked off in the next few weeks. Yeah. So we are at May bank holiday weekend now.
Yes.
8 weeks ago, the coronavirus came in. Maybe first cases in Ireland.
7 weeks ago, though.
Rules.
Restrictions.
Okay, so
started to creep in.
Yeah.
But it started off nice and slow. It was kind of like we all
started off nice and slow on Monday, but then it went.
That's actually true.
Within 3 or 4 days, it escalated to the most extreme situation. So it started off nice and slow. Where
it was like let's get the gatherings under restrictions. Let's have 100 people indoor gatherings, 500 people outdoor gatherings. They started social distancing where they could when it came to
But we didn't have a clue, because even the wedding that we snuck in, the celebrant was quite good at explaining social distancing, but we kind of knew about it, but we didn't really understand the significance of it.
It was quite foreign to us still. Like the thought of social distancing at a wedding was a very strange
and at a ceremony where the celebrant absolutely insisted, and we thought he was being a bit funny, but actually he was really right. So he insisted on separating groups of people so that you were sitting with your households and there was gaps between all the seats in the ceremony. So at that point...
And he was literally spraying the room with hand sanitizer.
He was.
He almost got out of water going at one stage and was like...
It was actually after...
everywhere.
They signed the register, and after everybody signed it, and he was kind of rubbing the pen and also kind of dousing people's hands in the sand.
It was almost part of it,
So from like the Wednesday, Thursday-ish of that week, we were given the rules.
Yeah.
And then by the weekend, Irish people being Irish, Temple Bar was hopping on the Sunday despite the rule of 100 people or less in a pub.
Yep.
The place was jammers. Now, that was running into St. Patrick's Day Festival, and it was going to be full on, and the best decision ever now can be, when we look back, we can probably say was made to 1, close the pubs, and 2, to cancel all the parades. If the parades had went ahead, if they had have even let people just go
and the rugby matches, because that was very controversial at the time whether they go ahead.
Italian people still travelled to Ireland to watch the rugby match, but if they had have let the pubs open on St. Patrick's Day, it would have been a disaster.
Oh, absolute disaster, completely. And I mean, he was kind of, I remember the last wedding we did, sitting down talking to the managers in the hotel, and some of the hotels are closed, but the majority of them were still open at the time because they weren't told they had to close, but they were trying to figure out how to use the hotel without a bar.
Yes.
Because that was a big thing. And I remember talking to them about it, but within days of that, the hotels all shut.
The hotels all shut.
Yeah.
So the hotels all shut. And basically pretty much the rules grew from there in terms of the extremity of we have to stay at home, we can only go certain distances from our home, and such things like that. So we're pretty much on an extreme lockdown at the moment, which is now
until the 18th.
On the 18th. Yeah. Well, onto Tuesday it loosens a little bit. So
we can go 5K instead of 2K from our house.
5K instead of 2K. So just so that when people are listening to this podcast in the future, or just trying to work out why are we talking about this, where we're at now is the government have just released a roadmap as to how they reopen society and reopen business.
Which has been a huge relief to a lot of people because it has given guidance and some sort of structure to what the future is going to look like over the next 17 weeks, is it?
Yes.
17 weeks.
So it sets targets for dates of potential phases of reopening.
I think potential is a big word there.
Yes, potential. So I think let's talk about that and explain that situation, because I think people have in their head that these dates are for definite and that X is going to happen on a certain date and Y is going to happen on the next date, which is 3 weeks later.
Yep.
And 100% hotel's going to open up on such a date, bar's going to open up on another date, and I'm going to be able to do whatever I want on another date. So...
But they have been very clear to say that it's only if things continue to improve. There might be steps back, there might be pauses, or the phase might go ahead, but they might modify the phase where they'll take away some of the aspects of that phase and go ahead with just a limited amount of them. Yep. Which, for the wedding side of things, which is why we're talking about this, I know it's lifted a lot of uncertainties for a lot of couples. If you are a June, July couple, it's pretty much told you your wedding's not happening.
Well, so, let's do that. Yeah. So one of the questions, we're going to release an FAQ with this podcast. And it's kind of...
are?
Yes.
Are we?
We are.
Okay.
So a lot of the writing, so if anyone saw the long article that we've released the last couple of days, I suppose, that article came out of, that was going to be the script for a video that we were going to produce as an update to coronavirus, our coronavirus 3 video, if you will.
But then we looked in the mirror and figured...
best not go on camera. One, best not go on camera, but 2, it takes a while to do a video, so we needed to get the article out quick because people needed it, because people were trying to make decisions. But where the body of that information came from is from myself and Laura going on walks with the dog. The dog is a well-walked dog at this point.
So well-walked. She's so fit at this point. We're not.
But all I was doing was writing down our conversations into blocks of information, and also our conversation about the roadmap and how that's going to do.
Because to be fair, this is all we talk about.
Yeah.
There is nothing else going on in our lives at the moment.
Other than me going, stop painting that room. Why are you painting that room?
Oh, it's so therapeutic. A paintbrush, lawnmower, it makes me happy. But let's not get off subject.
Okay, so the FAQ, the second thing, the FAQ, the long article is a good article in terms of it shows how difficult it is to tease through the whole situation. But I understand it's hard for people to read that long article. But it's also not easy to make a decision on whether you should or shouldn't have your wedding, say, in 2020. What the FAQs is going to try to do is be more blunt. And what we're going
to... Blunt and Benny. Ooh. We apologise if we make anyone cry over this.
I can be a bit rough at times. Myself and Laura have an interesting relationship that we know how to let loose and rip the head off each other. But also just walk into the kitchen and pretend as if nothing happened.
Yeah.
So
it works perfect though.
So the FAQ is going to be blunt, and it's going to say to you, postpone your wedding, cancel your wedding, whatever decision whatever extremes you have.
We'll try not to use the word cancel.
Okay,
cancel, it's a very, very strong word. Cancel means it's not happening at all. It's just not happening.
Do you think anyone's just going to go, I'm never getting married?
I think people that might have been together for a long, long time, like you're talking about, like we've done weddings where people have been together 20 years and they've just decided to get married. Maybe people that have their house, they have their kids, they're well into the relationship, and it was more of a party. They might go,
it's true, actually.
I'm getting away from this.
They tend to be the biggest sessions, those weddings do, because they just go mental. They're not trying to hold themselves together to look respectful for the speeches. They just let it loose.
Those speeches are the best speeches.
Do you think any split-ups are going to happen, any breakups because of the
I think it's inevitable. I think
lockdown?
Some people are going to find the stress too much to handle. I think that some relationships...
Do you think they're really going to find out what she's like?
Ooh. Oh, that's terrible. What about him? Yeah.
He's long-haired and dashing.
I think there could be serious disagreements, but I think the biggest thing that will come out of this, and my relationship staying together, will be a baby boom.
A baby boom, huh?
There will be corona babies left, right and centre. There will be more postponed weddings due to the fact that I'm pregnant than anything else. I'm telling you.
I thought you were telling me that you were pregnant.
No, I'm not pregnant, darling. No, we don't.
Sorry, I forgot that we were actually recording a podcast leave you off talking
I'm not
there.
Pregnant, no.
Okay. So that's what the FAQ is going to be. They're going to be blunt. We're going to be blunt on this, just so people don't misinterpret our attitudes towards the coronavirus. Let's do the arc of Where
What's that word at the moment?
Ark.
Benny's ark.
Benny's ark.
Benny's ark.
Benny could build an ark.
Benny could build an ark. That's
For
on.
the
That's
disaster.
later, love. We'll do that later. Okay.
Right.
Lovely. Yeah.
So the arc of my attitude and the arc of your attitude to the coronavirus and to the coronavirus and weddings, because you laugh at me every time you think back.
Can I tell this?
You tell
this
this,
makes
right.
me laugh so much. So when this all kicked off properly, and the venues hadn't closed just yet, and I remember walking into Benny's office, and I probably had the most worried look on my face, completely pale, kind of thinking, weddings aren't going to happen. We're done for March, April, and May, is what I had in my head at the time. And he's sitting there looking at me going, what are you talking about? We've a wedding on the 20s, I think it was the 27th and 28th of March.
In March, we had 4 left,
Yeah.
right? So the week it was kicking off.
And you had your Excel sheet out, of course, and you were excelling. You're the end of your month.
yeah. No, but like, so they've brought out rules, say the 100-person restriction rule to a wedding, and we have 4 weddings left. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Benny's doing all 4. He sees no reason these aren't going to happen. I actually laughed and walked out of the room.
Why at that time did you think we wouldn't get the 4 of them done? Because there was rules of 100 people. So we had 4 of them. And say, for instance, so there was a wedding on Friday week, right?
Yeah.
And it was a 200-person wedding. That couple, were working really hard to still have their wedding because they were a week away from it. They really, really want to get married. They were supposed to have 200 people, and they decided we're going to cut our guests down. So why didn't you at that time think that wedding's going to happen?
Simply because I was watching what was going on in other countries who were ahead of us.
Okay.
So we were starting to creep in with our cases. We were starting to see people in ICU. I'm not too sure whether the first death happened or not.
No. So I don't think a death would have happened. But say there was it was definitely in the country that week, and that's why they were kind of like, we need to put restrictions on it because we can't let it spread too quickly. So say it was 10 or 20 or 30 cases, but someone would have probably didn't die straight away. But Italy that week, say, would have gone from like 1,500 to say it was going up to 4,000 or 5,000. It was each day it was jumping. It was like, oh, it's 4,000, then it's 5,000. So that's probably that week, and that's probably what you were seeing. So you were seeing all that, and were you frightened that you thought that's just going to happen in Ireland?
Well, yeah, because I thought, like, it's happening in other countries, why would it not happen here the same? And you had a lot of people, like, our cases came from people travelling back from Italy.
Okay.
Italy then was in a mess, and Cheltenham was going to go ahead. And
like,
no, but it's true.
Yeah, I remember us talking about Cheltenham, it was crazy. Yeah.
We're going to go to Cheltenham. And I was thinking, we're done. Like, we're
Okay.
going to be the same as Italy. Give it a couple of weeks. Now, I could have been a bit dramatic.
Yeah, I think
to be fair,
you were, yeah.
I might have been a bit dramatic, but I just didn't see a good outcome with this.
Okay, so Laura's attitude was very sensitive towards the situation then, and she was in tune to the seriousness of it. Not that I wasn't, but
you were off in your own little world.
No, because now I'm at the other extreme. I like to think that I'm somewhat rational in terms of when it was happening and when it worked through in Ireland, that I moved and appreciated the realism of it. So at the point, the realism was you must only gather in groups of 100. So out of the 4 weddings we had left, we snuck in one. So they probably planned to have 100 to 120 guests.
I think they were 120. It ended up being about 60 on the
Yes,
day, but
exactly.
it was a natural call.
But
Like the guests themselves just weren't happy
Exactly,
going,
exactly.
so they just kind of dropped off themselves.
So that was what I thought would happen in terms of they could still go ahead, or if you were planning on having a wedding of 120 people, it was quite reasonable to think that would drop by 20 or 30 in the one, in normal situations that does happen,
yeah.
And 2, there's now this disease that's happening. So if someone in a family was sick, normally what happens is, and sometimes it's someone genuinely just has a flu, so that whole family tends not to come to a wedding in a normal circumstance, or in the other extreme where someone's extremely sick, or if someone just naturally passes away, that tends to pull 5 or 10 people from a wedding. So you tend to, the week of any wedding, no matter what your number is,
always drop-offs.
Always drop-offs between 5 and 10. Even the day of, someone texts you and says, I can't come.
Kids are sick or something, I can't come. Yeah.
So that always naturally happens. So the couple that was having the larger wedding of 200, they had decided that they were so close to their wedding, they had so much plans, they were really excited about getting married, that they wanted to have their wedding at that point. So I thought couples are going to do that, particularly for the 4 at the end of March, that we would get those. I then thought that April might become a bit difficult because people have 2 or 3 weeks to make a decision, to realise what a 100 wedding was, and basically go, I'm not having a 100-person wedding. So if you kind of like normally have 8 to 10 weddings a month, half of them, I think, in a normal situation would go, I don't want to have a wedding if it's only 100 people and there's some sort of strange rules going on. So therefore, I thought it would gradually ease out, and then maybe as it became more serious and there was more cases in Ireland, then they would kind of stop weddings from happening. So I thought maybe we would see out March, half of April, and then maybe at some point it would stop in the summertime.
But for April, May, when they had time to think about it, what we started to see as well was, because no one knew it was going to last this long, couples were thinking, I'll push my wedding into June, I'll push my wedding into July, August, that they were only pushing it out by a month or two. It wasn't going to be an extreme postponement.
Yeah,
it's still happening this year. We were just pushing it back a little bit. So it was an easier decision to make. I can wait another 2 months. It's only 2 months. That's grand.
So at that point we have kind of 3 opinions. Your highly sensitive opinion, my kind of laid back, sure, it will happen in some way, it will happen. And the general public, based on the kind of communications we were having, was they thought they could get away with just pushing a month or 2.
Yeah.
So that's how it was then. Now let's jump to today and go, what's my opinion and what's your opinion? Because we're going to be really blunt, and it might come across as really negative, but what I would say to you is it's really realistic.
But if you know us, you know we're not negative people.
We're not negative.
We're not negative people. We are constantly looking to move forward, to do something, and this isn't like...
Or to dress up really silly and take the... extract the urine, because I don't want to say because I'll have to bleep it out. Because I have to bleep out your shit.
It was a shit show, I said.
Thanks for like really saying it really quick.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're easygoing. If anyone saw my charity kind of video where we had to run, I dressed up really stupid and kind of ran off into a field type thing. We have fun. Or like, what's the Welsh lad's name that we had a wedding with? Lee. How could I forget it? Blenny.
No, it was...
Was it Blenny?
Was it Blenny or Lenny?
No,
I'm not too sure.
Blenny
We mixed your names
better.
together in it because
Blenny was kind
it was
of
kind of like the 2 years wedding day. Like myself and Linda were kind of left on the sidelines.
Yeah. So Lee and Linda.
Yes. Well done. Benny's not great with names. I'm the name person when it comes to weddings.
No, I can't tell people my secrets. So, but in any way, I am terrible with names. Even with people I know or people in my extended family, I'm really bad with names. Laura might say to me, she starts talking about someone and I'll go, who is that? I'm not going to say their name, but we actually were having a walk yesterday. You started telling me about that. And I said, and I couldn't connect. I thought she was talking about someone in Cork, but actually she was talking about someone in Dublin. I was like, who is that?
At least you're actually talking, like listening to me when I talk.
And then you explained to it was a member of my family.
Yeah.
So that's how bad I am with names.
Yeah.
So Lee and Linda were having a great ceremony, and Lee was from Wales, and all the Welsh people were over, and it was brilliant crack.
Such a fun day. And outdoor ceremony in April.
It was an outdoor ceremony. It was. We all got sunburned.
Yeah.
But as an example of how laid back we are, myself and Lee are off skipping down Charles Ford, playing with cannons and whatnot, and Laura and Linda are just shaking their head going, do these lads realise that we're on a wedding shoot? And
we've got one coming up hopefully in August, and Ciara was saying that Paul's more disappointed that he might not get to spend the morning with you. Hopefully it happens.
So just in case anybody's out there thinking that, Benny sounds a bit full on, I don't know whether I want to spend the morning with him photographing my wedding.
No.
We respond to people's characters. So if someone is kind of a headbanger and they want to have the crack, I'll go with them, but I won't come in and go like Krusty the Clown going, hi lads, I'm here.
You feel very Krusty the Clown. No, but it's not being negative, but I think we need to be truthful for people, because telling people half-truths and giving them false hope is not a nice thing to do.
Okay, so if we were speaking in general about coronavirus, COVID-19, and we were talking back and forth, and I listened to a lot of economists, a lot of epidemiologists.
Oh, well done. That's a mouthful.
Epidemiologists.
You gonna do twice? Well done. Gee.
Yeah, because I'm gonna cut out when I said it bad. Okay, so I read a lot. Laura actually laughs at me when I'm reading a lot, and I when I think of I read a lot. Ian from Story Begins, who we had on the podcast before, I was ranting, and he was like, "What type of things do you be reading?"
Everything.
But
the internet. I read the internet.
I read the internet. I'm almost finished.
We joke saying, "Are you finished the internet yet, Benny?"
Yeah, I haven't seen Bill Gates on the internet. He was on the last page, apparently, according to Homer Simpson. Right. So where I stand now is, in general, I would be quite more along the lines of, this is actually really, really serious, and I am, while you initially, when this started off, so to give you an idea, this started off, we weren't able to have weddings, therefore our business becomes in jeopardy, and therefore our income becomes in jeopardy. And what you do is you either go into flight or fight mode, and I went into fight mode in terms of, I was contacting podcasts, I was contacting newspapers, and I was contacting TDs. Now I'm not politically motivated, and when we go to a polling station, I normally vote against who I don't like, because I don't want them to get voted into.
Makes
so
sense.
rather than, I'm not party political in terms of, I don't have allegiance to anybody ever. So
what about me, darling?
No, you've got to be, when the heat comes around the corner, you've got to be ready to walk in 5 minutes.
Good God. Like,
no matter what,
we're going to talk about this later.
You got to be ready to go. So, I did. I got onto TDs. They needed to know how serious it was, in terms of the wedding business basically was switched off overnight. Okay,
Yep.
So there was no income in terms of the end of March. Grand, you would survive so long, but we knew straight away, based on what had been mentioned and the length of the restrictions that were going to come in, that weddings in April and May weren't going to happen, so therefore you've no income. So in 2 months' time, you've got to look ahead and kind of see where your income is coming from. And if you're relying on social income, it's very low. Now, the Irish government were brilliant, and what they did was they increased the social income. They put in job payment schemes to help businesses pay their employees and stuff like that. But at that point,
and they included the self-employed, which was
important. Exactly. So it was really important for us to be self-employed, that we could go on a pandemic payment.
Very exciting.
Yes, and at least it kind of helps out. It still leaves you short, but you can survive now. Okay, so at that point, we kind of really kicked into making noise and making sure you can survive. So we did that at that point. That now we understand. Now I understand more how serious this is, and the reason why I talk about the income is because I have no interest in getting the business back up and running and weddings happening just for me to make money.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think it's an initial reaction that when your business is threatened, that you are going to try and protect it in any way you can. You're trying to figure out, well, how do I keep it going? And especially for us, because I know everybody has different ways of income coming into their households, but we're one household and one company. We're a husband and wife photography team. It's not a case of my business is dried up and you're doing something else.
Yes.
It's one thing between us. So it's a big deal for our business to be put on pause. Involuntary.
So we are not diversified in terms of income at all.
No.
Okay, it's wedding photography.
Yeah.
And nothing else. So that's gone. But my opinion now is, in general, is it's more important for this disease to be eradicated from Ireland and eradicated as much as it can be in Europe or the world in general. I'm more interested in less people dying than I am interested in making an income. And that's my opinion now, based on the 8 weeks that have happened. So while I'm going to come across as probably quite blunt in terms of when we tease this out, and people
blunt
might...
or honest? You can look. I think it's more honest. I think blunt is too much of a negative word. I think it's an honest input into how we see the wedding industry going forward.
And I suppose, okay, so to soften that up is, I've spent a lot of time of working through the whole problem. It's quite detailed and complex, and there's so many different areas to it that I'm at a rational point where I don't think certain weddings should happen at the moment, and that I can make a logical decision through teasing out the whole situations to it's more logical to postpone certain weddings in 2020 than it is to try and have them. So just so that people are at the situation of, I'm very much now gone from a place of in March that weddings will happen, we'll get by and we'll keep things going, to now I'm more concerned about health, people's health, and I'm outside of kind of not overrunning the health system or whatever. I don't want people to get this disease. I don't want people to die.
No, and it's and that is the proper way to look at it. Like I'm on the same. I agree with you there, Alf. I am on the same page. No one wants people to die.
We're on the same page.
We're on the same page on this one. But I think it's I think we all need to be willing to put our lives on hold for as long as it takes. Like,
no, they aren't.
And I know they aren't. I'm willing to put my life on hold for as long as it takes. You are as well, because you don't want people to die. But there's a lot of people out there who aren't, and it is selfish behaviour, and I've said this from the beginning, but...
Okay, yeah, but it's selfish, but I understand if they're still in if they haven't moved out of the protect my income for my house, I need income, la 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 la. If they're kind of in that mode, it's understandable. And the other extreme is if they're totally ignorant to the potential risk to people. That's it on the other extreme.
It's hard to see that though. It's everywhere. It's it's every social media page. It's every news station. It's every radio station. The amount of people are dying. The amount of the cases that are there. The difficulties you're in. So to be like really oblivious to it, it's hard to.
But I think they know about it, but they still want to go back to work. They still want to make an income.
Okay.
Sure, people want to go like let's do it. Let's go there now. I don't understand why people want to go anywhere. People are crying about going further than 2 kilometers, and I'm like, what's their problem? Where do they want to go? And then Laura laughs at me.
You never go anywhere. Like literally, he was talking to Finbar this morning.
Finbar is from Arc Light. They're a band, wedding band.
So Benny and Finbar have regular chats. Actually, he talks on the phone more than I do now. He's a great woman. But the two of them were saying,
that's terrible sexist.
I know it is, yeah. But two of them saying they're quite. It doesn't really bother them too much, because the two of them apparently are loners. They like to be at home. They like to, other than a wedding now and then, they're quite happy to be in their own company.
Well,
on the other hand, I need social interaction. I don't do well.
So Laura has had a few meltdowns.
I know, they weren't that much of a meltdown. It was just a little bit of an emotional roller coaster there for a while. Yeah.
Emotional roller coaster. I like to say that Laura has like a 3-day cycle, so she has the and not in that manner. That's disgraceful.
That's weird.
Richard Finlay. That's his type of.
Your other wife.
My other wife,
Richard
wife. Finlay.
Yeah.
So my boyfriend. You're my
I
wife.
do call him your boyfriend, because
thanks.
you talk to each other more than we talk to each other. And we
so
live
this
in
is
the
a
same
real
house.
plugging episode. So
yeah, we're going to name other suppliers as we go.
So Richard Finlay is from Bride and Groom Films.
Can't use the word video.
No,
stop banging the chair. You're making noise, darling.
I'm worse than Ger Carney.
I'm worse than Ger Carney. He was banging the table.
So, Ger Carney is a magician. So we're plugging.
Okay, stop now. Stop. We need to go back.
Okay.
Go back.
Before we go any further, do you need to do anything with the chicken?
I do. I need to go and do the chicken.
Okay, so we're gonna have a brief pause and just put the chicken in the oven or do whatever it needs to do.
I'm gonna go back to my other being a wife and a mother and actually Fiji.
Okay, how's the chicken?
It's yeah, it's looking like it's cooking. I put it in an oven. I press the on button. My culinary skills are they're epic.
Okay, so we'll quickly explain your 3-day cycle.
I'm so glad you brought that back up. Fabulous.
Yeah, and then we'll get on to what we're actually supposed to discuss,
because this is the longest introduction to a podcast there ever was.
Yeah,
Can you cut this up a bit? I think you need to.
Yeah. I say some fierce editing is going to take place.
Fierce.
So Laura kind of has one day where she's full of energy and kind of decides to empty the utility room and repaint it and whatnot. The second day is kind of a bit more flat, where you kind of go, okay, I'll design a wedding album or something like that. And then your third day is, the world is ending, I'm going to the couch, I'll be back in 10 hours.
To be fair though, I've only done the world is ending, I'm going to the couch, maybe 4 out of the last 50 days. So that's actually not too bad.
4 out of 50.
Every 3-day cycle is complete lie when it comes to me going to the couch. That means that every 3rd day I'm lying on the couch thinking the world's ending.
Is that only because you have to answer so many emails that you're in your head you're answering emails, so therefore you're not on the couch, but actually what you do is you spend maybe 2 or 3 hours answering a bucket of emails, and then you come into my box room of an office and say, I'm going to watch something on the couch.
Yeah, you need to switch off, because it's like you're dealing with other people's emotions as well. Everybody is so emotional about this, and it's very hard to not let it kind of feed into your emotion. So like if someone gets really disappointed and upset their wedding isn't going ahead, and you're seeing this, so like everyone has this going on with their one wedding. You luckily have not done too many postponements. Actually, you've done no postponements. I've done all the postponements, which is fine, because you're not allowed.
And I was going to say this. I think it's important for us to tell people as well. So in terms of we've done the arc of our kind of opinions and about the virus and disease. I'm totally switched off from the world in terms of social media. So I have a Facebook account, but I don't use it. Randomly, I'll go on it. I don't scroll through. I don't use Instagram or Twitter or anything like that. I don't. I removed myself from it because I wanted to get over the addiction of social media. But
well done.
But you're most definitely in that world in terms of you're in touch and connected in Instagram, and then Facebook is kind of a secondary platform for us. But you're most definitely in that world. You're feeling everybody's emotions. You're feeling everybody's battle.
It's been 7 weeks of over 50 postponements, so it's over 50 people's emotions. Be it I'm okay about it, I'm happy. Happy I'm moving. You know, I'm relieved. It's a weight off my shoulders.
Done,
To other people that are just absolutely like devastated, brokenhearted. To other people that are just, they're almost not coming to terms with it. And every time a Friday or Saturday comes around, I have in my head that we should have been at this person's wedding today.
There's nothing worse when we go on a walk on a Friday and it's a brilliant day.
Yeah, and that's all I can think about is that today should have been someone's wedding. And then
that's probably awful for them to be. They could be a non-essential worker at home, and it should have been their wedding day, and it's a brilliant day. And
some people have spent 3 years, if not more, planning this one day. Now I know it'll happen. It'll come around, but it's just, and it's the people that postpone and then have to postpone a second, and actually there's been people who have to postpone a third time.
Really?
Because they keep wanting to hope for the best, and they only push it out by a couple of months.
Okay.
And then it's coming towards it, and they realise, no, it's not happening, and they got to go again and again until they realise that they're actually going into 21.
So let's briefly touch on that. So there were some weddings in March or April, say, and they were hoping for even just pushing it to May or June, and they now know it's not happening.
Yeah.
So briefly explain that. Or is that all that is?
Yeah, that's all that is. It was just the mentality of, June, July, it was weeks away. It was so far away. It was 8, 9, 10 weeks away. So there's no way we're still going to be under restrictions in that length of time.
It'll work out.
Yeah, because 10 weeks is such a long time that you think there's no way we're still going to be in the situation. So back then, which wasn't that long ago, that was the mentality.
If my wedding's in April and I think through all of May, if I throw my wedding at the end of June, sure it'll happen.
Sure, I'm having a small wedding anyway. I wasn't going mad. It's bound to happen.
Okay. So we'll go back to the restriction maybe, and I'll still be able to have my wedding.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And there is people that moved to August, and they're still in August, and I don't know whether they're just quiet at the moment because it's the Maybank holiday weekend and they're waiting for the venue to come back to discuss possibly moving again.
Well, we'll get into that. So we'll use the roughly the FAQ to kind of guide us through. So someone says to you, "Should I postpone my wedding?"
Are you taking over this? Have you become the host?
Did you write the FAQ?
I did. Yeah. No, I didn't. I was doing postponements.
You were doing postponements. No, but I'm asking you because I mean you're in it.
Yeah.
And you've had this conversation probably lots of times.
A few hundred.
So actually the roadmap got released, and I think you took 2 or 3 phone calls that night. So the roadmap, what was about 5 or 6 o'clock, and it was 6:30 actually.
6:30.
So Taoiseach was on at 6:30. over the next hour, we got our hands on the roadmap, say, so 7:30 onwards.
I was still doing emails at 10 o'clock that night. People just
Emails and conversations. So
but I was ready for it though.
So
I
you've
knew
had
this
this conversation where people kind of knew then. Okay, so if someone says to you, "Should I postpone?" Let's not get into them all in too much detail because it'll be as long as our introduction. But
Go on,
if we call out all the things that people have to think about, people will understand that there's no yes/no answer. Although a lot of times when we get on to further things, I'm going to say you should postpone.
Yeah.
And the wedding industry is going to be angry with me.
I think.
Okay. But outside of the exact date, should I postpone?
So, the honest truth,
yes,
is most likely, depending on when your wedding is, how early in 2020. There's a lot of different situations to every wedding.
Yes.
And people have different concerns, and they have all, like, I suppose the biggest concerns people have been taught to think about would be your own health.
Yeah, first and foremost,
your own health.
Can you expose yourself? Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's just lash through them because people need to appreciate that there's endless amount of factors. So it's your own health.
And then you've got your immediate family's health and your guests' health.
Yeah.
You've also got and then you're going to have your older generation.
That would have come to the wedding.
Would have come to the wedding. Chances are they're not going to come now. And if they did come, how comfortable are you with putting them in that situation?
Okay.
Then also that you've got your societal concern. How do you feel?
Yeah, because potentially
actually putting a wedding
your
on,
wedding could be like what do you call it? Patient zero. We could get this down to the wedding down to zero.
Yeah.
One of your guests could be contaminated.
Yep.
And then they come into your wedding. There's 100 people there.
Yep.
And they give it to 20 or 30 people.
Yep.
And then those 20 or 30 people go out, and then it's bang back on.
Tony's on the daily briefing saying there was a wedding when it happened, and now
I'm
we have
so
100
glad
cases.
that you brought up Tony Houlihan.
He loves Tony. Tony's
Houlihan.
like
I watch Tony Houlihan's press conferences like it's a football match. I'd be yelling at the journalists who ask the worst questions in the world.
Same questions every day. He's the most patient man that ever existed.
True.
Ever.
I think he must be on some sort of camera.
He must be.
But either they ask the silliest question, which might seem like it's okay because they're just representing somebody in the world. But Tony has perfectly explained something, and they'll ask a question, and it's the complete opposite and a complete misinterpretation of what he's just said.
That's what they want the headline to be tomorrow. Doesn't matter what he said.
Yeah.
They want the headline.
So
there's not enough going on in the world.
But
that's your love for Tony. And then we're going to go back to this.
We're going to go back to that.
We're going to go back to
But
this.
I cheer on Tony. Tony gives the answer. Tony's the best.
Tony.
Tony's done a good job, and I won't have anyone say a bad word about Tony.
I'm so glad you've gotten that out there, love.
Okay.
Well done. I'm proud of you.
Okay, back to the
proud
list.
Of you.
Right. So
next thing to think about is your ceremony venue open? Your ceremony venue and your reception venue could be two different locations.
Right. Whether it's religious or non-religious.
Doesn't matter.
Where's the ceremony? Is it open?
Is it open?
Right.
Your officiant. Is your officiant available?
They could have the coronavirus.
You wouldn't know. There could be many reasons.
Or they could be they could be at the end of it. They could be self-isolating as a precaution.
No, I'm sure you'll get a replacement pretty easy.
Okay.
But at the same time, is your officiant available? Your venue. Is your actual venue open?
Okay.
You have to think about that. And then if your venue's open, that's fine. The venue's open, lovely. But what facilities within the venue are open? Especially the bar.
The bar.
The bar is the big thing. Well,
so
there's been so many people have said to me, I'm not having a dry wedding. There's no way I'm having a dry wedding.
Okay, one, myself and Laura don't drink.
No.
And two, we've been to a dry wedding.
Yeah.
And it was brilliant.
It was actually great crack.
We didn't know how it was going to be.
Yeah.
And it was one of the best weddings that we've been to because everybody was genuinely having the crack.
Yeah. There was so much dancing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say that night actually, all night.
So if Irish people are out there and they're thinking, I can't have a dry wedding, it's actually grand.
It is, but if you are in the socialising scene of
self-medication through alcohol.
Yeah, that's they're the words I was going for. No, but it is a big part of a lot of people's the aspect of socialising, and it just wouldn't be a day without it. I know. It wouldn't be. It's easy for us to say that because we don't drink. And then okay, so the big thing, right, and this is something that we probably need to talk about a bit, is there is going to be a social distancing in place, probably, as you said, until the virus is eradicated or there's a vaccine.
Okay.
Possibly.
So quickly, bashing through all the parts of the day.
Yeah.
That if there's social distancing in place, what does that impact?
Well,
really
you
quickly.
would. Okay, so think of the morning. Hair and makeup. Chances are they're going to have to wear PPE. Okay, and there's going. You think about it, they would, because they're working on your hair and makeup, so they're going to have to wear PPE, and I would imagine they can still do it, but they just have to be careful, protective, and I would imagine that you wouldn't have too many people in the room.
That doesn't. Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, because you know the way you imagine, like I know you do the lads' morning, but I do the girls' morning. But you got like usually it's like all the girls in a room, the music is going, there's prosecco, hair and makeup's being done. It's big. It's a good
so you might need
a
big open room where you can still have people, but they can still.
But
you
probably have to rope people into the room if need. These are just things to think about. Now that's but that is what social distancing is. The ceremony, big thing, and we saw this the last wedding we went to.
Yeah.
It could be a case of you've got like a person, a 2-chair gap, a person, or it could be family households.
Families.
A space, but it would have to be spaced out for that ceremony.
Yeah, and while when we saw the first ceremony where social distancing was in place, there was kind of people trying to angle to it's okay if they're sitting there.
Yes.
Now there's going to be zero tolerance.
No, zero tolerance.
And even if I was going to a venue, I would have zero tolerance for being set in an inappropriate location close
but your
to
guests
people.
aren't going to feel comfortable.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, sorry, okay.
Yeah. So ceremonies impacted.
The next thing is the drinks reception, and this one I'm a little bit stumped at myself. I am trying to envision how to do a social distancing drinks reception. So say we're at the larger gathering side of things, and it could be 100 people.
We kind of saw it though. Again, we kind of saw it.
But that was people at the bar. Like the Vintners Association are talking about the moment. There would be no one sitting at the bar. It would be table service. It would be a certain number of people at each table. Would that have to be done in the drinks reception of a wedding?
We were upstairs. If anybody knows it, in the Kinsale Hotel.
Yeah.
In Kinsale.
Well done.
But it's called the Kinsale Hotel.
It is called the Kinsale Hotel. It's been called a few things, but it's called the Kinsale Hotel now.
Kinsale Hotel.
Yeah.
So when you go upstairs into Kinsale Hotel, on the left hand side is the bar area, and then there's kind of a semi-enclosed area of seating, and then on the right hand side it's very open plan restaurant. They broke down the walls and it's really open, and people were sitting in groups. In terms of, there was some couples that were totally sitting apart from each other because they were totally in tune to what social distancing was, and then more kind of family units had kind of huddled into 6 and 8 and 10. But I don't think that type of huddling will happen. But I think that's what a social distancing drinks reception is going to be. You're going to need a lot of space. I think that was a much
more relaxed version of what a social distancing reception would be. Like, if you go by what the Vintners were plugging for, wanting to open the bars early, like no sitting at the bar, everyone has their own table.
Yep.
You're looking at, well, some of the things I said didn't make a massive
amount of sense. Let's apply it to a wedding.
But so you play that to a wedding. You got the bar area. No one's actually at the bar because you're not allowed to sit at the bar. Okay. Everyone's given a designated table.
Yeah.
And it's table service only when it comes to the actual alcohol they're serving.
Yep.
They did say it's no live music or DJ, but I imagine that would be different in a wedding situation.
Of course,
it's not a public bar.
Yeah, no, that's
So I would imagine a wedding drinks reception could be a case of each guest's household would be designated a table, and there would be table service.
Okay, so let's imagine you want to interact. Someone's going to have to be clever, and basically, so if you imagine 4 sets of tables socially distanced from each other, 2 meters away from each other, in a kind of in a square or in a diamond shape, which is pretty much the same thing.
That is very nice.
But if you've 4 tables, you've got your households on each of the 4 tables, and you're just going to have to shout across to each other.
Yeah, or you just talk to each other.
Talk to your cousins, shout across to your other group of mates.
I think you just like the same as you would have in the banqueting room when you're given a designated table.
Okay, so that's the other thing is how's dining going to work?
Yeah, and actually we skipped a part. Remember the whole thing where they used to do a receiving line and shaking hands? That's a thing of the past. That is gone. There's going to be...
They're not going to kiss and hug?
I would imagine not, darling. No, but now
they could just spit at you from 2 meters.
Oh, good God, they might just stand and people just might walk by and wave.
What about the elbow thing?
Too close. There wasn't a 2 meter restriction in place the last wedding we did with the bumping elbows. There wasn't.
It was 2 meter social distancing, but
okay, well they broke all the rules of that wedding. Then they shouldn't have been.
But you can have an interaction. But the doctor is what you see them on the telly doing the elbows.
No, I think the whole handshake thing needs to go.
Okay.
I think it's too much.
So it might just be a wave by.
A wave. Yeah. On to the banqueting. I would imagine that the way of doing things before was you had 10 to 12 people sitting around big round tables. It's going to be halved. It's going to be or it might have to stay with households. I don't know how they do it, to be honest. Would it have to stick with households, that only a household sit to a table? Would it have to be maybe six people at a big round table? And then if you've got, like, the big thing people need to think about as well is they give you a number. So say the number's 100 people is the largest that can gather. You need to remember that you need to include the staff and the suppliers in that number. So it's not a case of you're inviting 100 guests. It's 100 people in the space. How many suppliers,
so I'm going to put a
staff?
caveat on that at the moment. Okay, so we don't know what the rule is yet, right?
No.
But you're right. So there needs.
Well, I'm only saying if it's.
Yeah. So
if it's
so
not,
but
yeah.
so there may be a caveat of, say, 100 people indoors, and if they say that includes staff.
Yeah.
So they'll explain whether that includes staff or doesn't include staff. Your venue will tell you that. But yes,
well, you need to account for every person in the room.
Yeah, but they'll have to tell us that, whether
exactly.
there's, say, 100 people plus a bit of give or whatever. Okay.
And then the big thing is, and I know you were chatting to Finbar about this earlier on in the band, is the dance floor.
So yeah,
how does a dance floor work?
I really don't want to tell. I sometimes have ideas and don't want to tell people because they're my ideas. But I think we're the best wedding ever. So this is a challenge. If people want to, like, have the best wedding ever, okay?
Right.
So forget about postponing. You're gonna have your wedding, okay? Because the bar is open type thing. What you need to do is you need to have an outdoor wedding.
Right.
In Ireland, forget about the fact that it's in Ireland. This is gonna be epic.
It's getting wet. Be grand.
Be grand. It's
gonna
be dry.
Be grand. Okay.
You can have umbrellas. Okay, so you need to have a lot of umbrellas. Okay. What you need is, like, football pitch, rugby pitch, soccer pitch type size of an area. Okay.
Right.
You need to mark out your social distance dance floor so that everybody has a square
to themselves, like?
Right, a big square, because dance moves, you got to be able to throw the dance moves. You saw the way Stephen was dancing around the dance floor.
I did.
Yeah, we're talking about that epic dance moves. Okay.
Right.
Okay, and you're gonna have a silent disco. Everyone's gonna have headphones. Okay, because the whole idea of blasting music and stuff, you want to cut through that, right? So you need a huge space, whether it's indoors or outdoors. You could go to the Limerick University gym. That's huge. Did you ever see the aerobics that they do in there? That's what people need to do. They need to go to Limerick University indoor gym, draw out the squares, give everybody a dance floor area, have a silent disco, give them all the alcohol or coffee or whatever it is they want to drink, and it's just going to be epic.
There's some days I wonder why I married you.
Like, I'm a genius.
Yeah.
And you need to.
You've just put every band and DJ
I'm telling you, Paulie's like listening to this and he's like going, "This is a savage idea, Benny. I'm doing that," and we could do this for the child's birthday.
No, don't. I'm not even getting.
The child is 18th in July.
Oh, we're not having a silent disco.
We could implement this and show that it's possible to have an epic wedding.
You do that.
Okay, but
realistically, a dance floor and social distancing, I just don't see. I don't know how it works.
How do you do the conga?
I don't know. Rock the boat. I mean,
like, there's just like a partition in the boat.
Don't know. Maybe everyone's given a ticket and you have a time, like, kids in a playground, and you'd be like, this is your 10 minutes, and you get 10 minutes on the dance floor, and then this is your 10 minutes. There you go, sorted.
So it's kind of like a
dance off.
That's what it is.
It's like a dance off. But no, so
they just call up table 27 and then you have to run up and do your dance move and then run back. Okay, right. So because someone did on one of those forums that you told me about, God only knows what it is, because I don't go near them on the interwebs. I shouldn't be allowed near them, to be honest.
No, you shouldn't, because you just told that story about silent disco, and now we all know why.
Okay, so but someone said, how can someone please tell me what a social distancing wedding is?
Yeah.
And somebody bluntly said, that's not a wedding.
It's not a wedding. Yeah.
So that's probably the worst note to say on a wedding podcast, but like people have to think about this.
Okay, so when it comes to Irish weddings, Irish weddings are about people getting together and having the crack, celebrating, drinking, eating, socialising. That's what an Irish wedding is. But with these restrictions in place, we're either all going to have to get used to like a
different
very
type
new
of wedding.
normal.
Yeah. A different celebration.
But I think people do find it hard to get used to change.
Basically, they're giving up their big party wedding,
Exactly.
and they're having a less low-key
Yeah.
wedding, and they kind of feel like my wedding wasn't a big party,
Yeah.
and I want to have a big party, and
Yeah.
it's going to be epic, and that's kind of, that's a come down.
Mm.
Right, so we are back.
Got some non-alcoholic beer.
You're going wild, are you?
Got the feet up in the windowsill.
Yeah, you're
Sitting
just
back on the
casual there now.
chair, drinking a non-alcoholic beer, and gonna get back into the devastation that is coronavirus.
Yeah, and we're going to get straight at it because we kind of did the longest introduction and discussion of the situation ever.
And whose fault was that?
Not mine. So, I'm in Ireland. My wedding is in April, May, June or July. Should I postpone my wedding?
Well, if you're in April, May, June or July, you don't really have a whole lot of options unless you're after the 20th of July when phase 4 potentially comes in.
Okay.
There is nowhere open. Now, in saying that, I know that if the numbers of people that can gather that aren't within the same household increase to 5, it means that if you wanted to actually just get married, like it would be yourself, your partner, your 2 witnesses, and your celebrant or
Okay.
a priest.
So, I know
technically
everything
get
in
married.
depth because I kept reading forever.
Did you? More of the internet.
Yeah. In a way, gov.ie is my new
okay, fair
my new
enough.
favourite website. So I even read the letter from Dr. Tony Houlihan,
Oh, your favourite person in the whole world.
the CMO,
Right.
to the HSE and the Health Minister
Ooh.
with his recommendations. So anyway, in phase 2,
Okay.
gatherings can rise to 4 people,
Mm-hmm.
not from the same household, in an outdoor situation.
Okay.
So with 4 people, you cannot have a ceremony.
No, you need 5.
You need 5.
Minimum.
Let's presume 5 unless they tell us something else.
Yeah.
But it
No,
is
I've
5.
no doubt that there's
Right.
certain organisations that are lobbying to just increase that by 1 number to
Okay.
get weddings going.
So they might change that maybe
They might.
with a bit of
Within circumstances.
twisting the arm.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so that stays like that
Mhm.
until phase 4, which is the same as when the hotel's open.
Which is July 20th.
Okay, and the wording they use is a slight increase in numbers. They haven't did specific to how much the slight increase in numbers in terms of going
They're calling it a small gathering, aren't they? That's how they're
No, but-
generally referring to it.
2 separate things. So in terms of the 4 people is increased slightly.
Okay.
For a short period of time you can gather. Okay, so
Right.
they're really emphasizing for a short period of time you can gather.
Mm-hmm.
Then specifically weddings, small weddings can take place. Okay, so they haven't specified what a small wedding is. Okay, what do you think a small wedding is?
Well, it could just be the 5 people so that the wedding can happen.
That
The
would-
actual
that would be very
marriage, that would be
small.
very, very small. I would think it's anything between 20 and 50 people. 20 being on the very, very strict side of things,
Okay,
and 50 being optimistic. And I think that's optimistic. You remember, you're going from 4 to 50.
yeah.
It's a massive leap. So I think anything between 20 and 50 people, it could be out there, but I think it could be
Okay, so
on the lower
a small
side.
wedding, what they're really kind of saying is the officiant, whether they're religious or non-religious,
Mhm.
they're there, the wedding couple, and probably their 2 immediate families,
Yes.
which is basically probably like between 2 more people to 10 people. So
Mm-hmm. Yep.
10 people on either side, you're talking about, you're hitting 20, something like that.
Easily, yeah.
Okay, so that's a small wedding. I think we're just being optimistic, hoping a small wedding could be 50 people, and then you can kind of have a big dinner
and
of
you could have a
40
dinner,
people.
exactly, yeah.
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 Okay, so the other thing about phase 4, so the 20th of July, phase 4 in Ireland is they're hoping to open the hotels,
Correct.
but the restriction is no bar,
Dry wedding.
a dry wedding.
A
Okay.
dry, small wedding.
So you could have your ceremony, go to a hotel, maybe go to the restaurant if the restaurant's open, but it's not allowed.
They haven't actually clarified whether if you're dining out, you can actually, they're serving alcohol, they're not serving alcohol.
Okay.
There's just an assumption
So-
made they will be.
Yeah, so restaurants and cafes are allowed open at a certain point, but they haven't clarified whether they're allowed to serve alcohol if
Yeah.
they have an alcohol license, and I think that's why
The
the vintners
yeah.
are getting excited because they just presume that
Well, they
they're
just
going to
feel
be
a bit
serving
left
alcohol.
out. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So small wedding. So after 20th of July, if we're in phase 4, you can have a small wedding.
I think the majority of Irish people will not go ahead with that idea. Now, they may, and we have a similar situation with one of our couples, they may do the actual marriage side of things, get married, maybe take a couple of photos and then have the what you'd like to call wedding party side of things down the line.
Yeah.
Summer 2021, something like that. So they still get to get married in 2020. They're still husband and wife, husband and husband, but they're having the party next year or the year after.
Or just at a later point.
Later point, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So...
But I don't see anything other than that happening within phase 4.
Small wedding, if you're willing to tolerate that small wedding situation. Yes. Otherwise,
well, some people don't want to go through the whole having to go to the HSE again and reapply and get your green folder and have the appointment again.
The other thing is they actually want to get married.
They do. They really want to get married. Like it means a lot to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So most likely you're postponing unless you're willing to do that small option.
You are postponing.
Okay. The next bit, you're on to August. So I'm getting married in August. My wedding date's marked in for August. Mm-hmm. Should I postpone?
Well, if you're going into phase 10. Phase 10. Phase 5, which is August 10th on.
Okay, so phase 5 is August 10th.
Yeah, so if you're within those first 9 days of August, you're still postponing in my eyes. Unless you're doing the small things we just talked about.
Okay, so exactly. on 10th of August, the phase 5, the loosing of phase 5 is in hotels, they're allowed open the bar. Mm-hmm. In general, pubs and nightclubs, because we're all going to go out dancing.
Not too sure with how the nightclub thing is going to work, but that's a whole other discussion. Okay. But yeah,
they're opening up, so technically you can have your session.
You can, within social distancing. The other thing is that they've said that there will be larger gatherings, but they will be within restrictions. We don't know what the number of larger gatherings is going to be. Is it going to be 100 people or less? Or in a really, really great situation, they'd allow 150 people.
Okay, so I have actually, being the person I am, I've emailed the Irish Hotels Federation.
Of course you have.
And I've told them, because I've looked at this, and I've told them that they need to lobby for 150 people being the marker for for larger weddings. Yeah. So this is presumption of if they apply the same rules of 100 people or less indoors, 500 people or less outdoors, if that's what they mean by a larger wedding.
Mm-hmm. Which is what a lot of people are thinking at the moment.
Okay, let's presume it until they tell us what they mean by a larger wedding. It needs to be, or it would be really helpful for the wedding industry and the hotel industry.
Usually.
If it's 150, because a lot of Irish weddings are around 120.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if it was around 120 wedding, you wouldn't have to not invite people. Mm-hmm. You could just invite everybody. There's going to be natural fall off.
Yep. And
it keeps the business open. It makes it easier for the hotels to get going, to start up. Mm-hmm. And it makes it, for the whole wedding industry, the likelihood of weddings happening is good if it's at 150.
Yeah.
But if it's at 100, you're already into making people choose, because they could be anywhere above 100.
Yeah.
And thinking about having to cut their
weddings can be anything up to 400 people. I mean, you could be on the much larger scale of things as well. And
but that's not got so a larger wedding, like,
you're either changing that completely or you're really pushing it back, like seriously pushing it out into the future.
Yeah, but I presume from everything they've talked about and knowing Dr. Tony Houlihan as much as I do, I don't think he's going to consider a larger wedding to be 200 or 300 or 400.
No.
I think he's going to say a large wedding is 100 people.
Oh, and I'm on the same page. I like to say that as you.
We're on the same page.
We're on the same page. Again.
Okay.
What I would say though is if you were an August couple.
Okay, yeah.
And you're after the 10th, and you've thought about the numbers, and you've thought about social distancing, and
my hotel's open, my bar's open.
Yeah, but the other thing is you do have to be very, very aware of the fact that these are guidelines, and there's a lot of things that need to happen for us to get to those dates. So for everything to actually go to plan, for all the phases to happen within the guidelines they've given us, within the time frame, that there is a possibility that there will be delays. There is a possibility there will be steps back.
Okay, but at this point, let's actually go, like, there's no delays, okay? So the weekend after the 10th of August is like the 14th, 15th, 16th, something like that, okay?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay, when do I know my hotel and my bar is open?
You don't. So close.
So
You
4 weeks
have to be
beforehand.
really willing to put it down to the wire.
Okay, so 4 or 5 weeks beforehand, I want to invite everybody, but I don't know what I'm inviting them to.
Exactly. And that is something that uncertainty alone, I think, will put the majority of August couples off having a wedding in August.
Okay, so the 10th of August, the first weekend after the 10th of August, the second weekend after the 10th of August, they're kind of in the same boat of they don't know whether their hotel is open, they don't know whether the hotel has a pub. Or
Exactly,
a bar.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and they probably don't know what the rules are in terms of how does dining work, how does the drink reception work.
Exactly. Unless they bring out a very, very detailed format for weddings, particularly within social distancing, which I don't see happening for a long time.
Okay, so I'm going to be blunt.
Of course you are. Honest.
Brutally honest. Anyone in August, whether it's between the 11th and 31st,
yes,
they don't know what they're getting.
No.
They should postpone.
100%.
Because the likelihood is the week of your wedding, you're either only going to find out that you have a bar, or you're going to be dealing with the nonsense of numbers, how dining works out. The hotel, you could be the first wedding that the hotel do, and the hotel is only kind of waking up from a slumber.
From a slumber, yeah, exactly. What I would say is I was talking to one of our brides recently, and they're very, very kind of understanding of what the phases mean and what the timeline means and what delays and restrictions can mean, and they are thinking outside the box. So they're saying, right, okay, I've already had to postpone my wedding. I've postponed it into August. I'm not postponing this a second time.
Okay.
So be it the church they're getting married in is open, but they'll know that comes phase 4. They're just going to have a very, very small gathering. They're going to get married.
Yeah.
They have cancelled their hotel side of things for their August wedding, and they're putting a marquee in the back garden so they can just have a bit of a party with the closest people to them. So they are ploughing ahead. They're having their wedding, and I'm absolutely loving this because they're just taking away all of what if, all gone. All the uncertainties
How big
gone.
is their garden?
I've no idea, but could
you do an outside silent disco with 100 people?
God, I've no idea, but that's not the point.
But do you think as kind of one of these things of we'll do it for help as the goodness out of our heart?
No.
Type thing that we could
Now we're there for this wedding and we're photographing it. You were not to bring this up.
Get a DJ, right, and who has this this system, who can do an outdoor silent disco and volunteer as a test run. They can test it out. I honestly don't think the neighbours would mind the noise. They probably welcome it. The noise? Yeah. Of an actual disco. That's the next thing. Do you know the way everyone's complaining about they can't go anywhere and everything, and it's so quiet? And what we do? We're just going to flip over to Janie, the ones next door. They're very noisy. Very noisy now. Did you see what they were doing yesterday in the next doors? Anyway, okay, so that's something that people have, in fairness to them, they really have looked at, because they know it's very uncertain still, and they just wanted to kind of take a little bit of control back, and this is what they've planned, which I wanted to share that because I thought it was a great idea. It is a great idea. No, I know this, and you want to have a small one, and I suppose if you want to have a small one, and they still know that it might not happen. They still know phase 4 has to come in. They still know the church needs to open. They're still very, very aware of all these things. But there's a much higher chance of those small few things happening by their August wedding than there is everything going to plan. They only need phase 4 to happen. Exactly. That's all they need. Okay. Yeah. Because they're doing it at home. They can go to the off license. If the small wedding allows them to have that number, but the HSE isn't going to come into your back garden and start counting people. You could probably we could rotate it. You could invite people by the hour. You're invited between 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. and you must leave. I'm only joking. But there is ways of doing these things if you're open to it. Ticket for the dance floor. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm just trying to. Okay, so August is very. Now the flip side is somebody could be I'm willing to risk it because I'm desperate for my wedding and I'm not. I'm sick of this. It depends on your tolerance. If you're the type of personality that's okay with something just being completely pulled from you last minute, right? That's fine. Then go for it. You're just one of those people that's going to plow on. I'll just move on to the next plan. Not going to get upset. Most people don't have that tolerance. Okay, so I'll be a bit softer. So we're going to call this week 1 to week 3 after the 10th of August, because that's what it is. It's kind of a 3-week window between the 10th of August and the 31st of August. If you're in that 3-week window And if you're willing to potentially get away with your wedding happening,
Yes.
what you're going to do is you're going to send out your invoice in June or July, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to hope that your hotel is open, and you're going to hope that your hotel is allowed to have a bar,
Yeah.
and everything else. And basically, you're going to run it up to the wire. But what might happen is the week of, or a couple of weeks beforehand, in August, the hotel might turn around to you and just go, "We can't do it."
Yeah. But that's the risk you're taking.
Or we can do it, but this is the restriction.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the risk you're taking.
Yeah.
So somebody could go for it.
They could. Absolutely. And
Okay, but if you're telling me,
I've no doubt that we'll be in that situation with one of our couples. They're bound to go for it.
Okay, so you can go for it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the other flip side of it. But if you were asking me,
if it was my wedding, I'd be postponing.
Okay, grant. We're not going to... August is done, right?
Yeah.
So then September weddings, which is kind of 4 to 7, week 4 up to week 7 after phase 5 has been introduced, okay?
Exactly, yeah.
So...
And I think this is the month that a lot of people are struggling with.
Yeah, because you're right on the fence. Because
really
basically, you're potentially... The hotel has been open since 20th of July. The bar in the hotel has been open since the 10th of August.
Yeah.
And you're really close to knowing that. So I suppose the difficulty is on the 10th of August, you're like, if you're waiting until the 10th of August to find out whether there is actually a bar in the hotel, you've only got 4 to 7 weeks notice.
Yeah.
So can you get away with sending out invitations that close?
I think, well, you can do anything digitally or virtually nowadays. It doesn't have to be a printed invitation.
Okay,
you
so
just have
this...
to kind of think outside the box when it comes to inviting people. Like, I mean, if
so
it needs to be a WhatsApp message, then so be it.
Okay.
You're inviting people. You just need to kind of, like, some traditions of a printed card going the post, RSVP coming back, that might stop. You might just need to create a WhatsApp group, send it out to everyone, and ask them yes or no, are you coming?
Here you go. I like this idea, right? We're convincing ourselves now. We're going to be really negative about September, but actually we're going to convince ourselves this is a great idea. Okay, so what you could do is you could send out your traditional card, say in June or July or whatever it is, right? You send out your card. You say, we're hoping to have our wedding in such a date in September, okay?
Yeah. Save the date, maybe.
It's kind of a really close save the date, okay? But we're going to contact you really close to the wedding because we might have to cancel it if the restrictions and blah, blah, blah don't go against us or do go against us.
Exactly.
And therefore we have to cancel it. Please give us your mobile number or please join this group online or something. So you could do something really clever. Then when it comes the week of your date, your date in September for your wedding, you can contact people and you just say it's on, it's off.
Exactly.
Okay. So the people who have a tolerance for this type of a thing could come up with something clever like that. Yeah. And they could go for September.
They could. Now, and that's the wedding day, and that's fine. But the thing is that your venue may want an answer from you.
Tell them you're doing this. Surely the venue will tolerate it because basically they're going to get income.
You would hope so, but it's not just. I think for some people, the wedding day itself is they don't really mind what happens beforehand as long as they get to be there. They get to have the closest people with them. But there is other aspects to a wedding. So usually when you've got the run up to your wedding, you're gonna have your hen, you're gonna have your stag, you're gonna have your shopping trips, your lunches out, and this is all part of your wedding. You
can go on a 5K walk.
Go on a 5K walk, but to be fair though, this is all part of it. It's not just about the day; it's about the run up to it as well. And to some people, that run up to the wedding day is just as important to them as the wedding day. So, if you're going for a late August, early September wedding, and you haven't had your hen or your stag yet, you're not having a hen or a stag, or you're having it virtually. Because you can't do it.
A Zoom stag.
There's loads of Zoom stags and hens going on at the moment.
Is there?
Yeah, people that had that organised.
Right.
They just haven't Zoom.
They're having the session.
They're just doing it. They're like,
That's good.
Dressing up the living room, getting into I saw a girl wearing a pillowcase. I'm not sure what that was about. It was white. And a veil. And
okay, she was making up this stupid wedding dress thing. Okay.
But like, and there's certain, and other people, what they've said to me is that they were actually happy to go ahead with the uncertainty of pulling it last minute.
Right.
But they weren't at a point of being prepared enough. So they hadn't done enough things prior to the wedding. And that could be his suit. It could be her wedding dress. It could be a lot of things, like a lot of things that you had planned to do close to the time.
But if you really want to have your party, you kind of have to get over these things and realise that
some people don't want to get over it, and I know that's like everyone, and this is the differences in how people feel about the day.
Okay, so but those people who want all the things that go with a wedding that you expect that go with a wedding,
they need to postpone. That's what I'm saying. If they need to postpone, if you want the full wedding experience.
Okay.
If you're happy to have not a partial wedding experience, but it's an alternative. Exactly, an alternative experience, and you're willing to just go with the flow.
It's a new way of normal.
Exactly, the new normal.
So September, because you're so exposed to it being cancelled very close to it, I was definitely of the opinion you should postpone.
Have I talked you around?
And I think you've talked me around because I'm a digital freak and I'm online freak.
I'm not good. I mentioned technology and you were like, I'm with you.
But there's a technical solution to this. And maybe someone needs to do an app. You can get an app for that.
Shh. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Sell it. Yeah,
so we're going to do silent discos and quick invites.
Virtual invites. But yeah, I think for September, they're the things to think about. Now, you're also still in, and we're not going to go through it again, we've already talked about it, but social distancing is still there. So you still have all that to think about as well, and you're whether comfortable with it or you're not comfortable with it. Okay,
so your wedding could suck even if you have it on the day.
Your wedding is never going to suck. If you have the right people around you and the right attitude, you will have a good day. It's how you approach it. If you go into the wedding day with a sulk because it's not everything that you were hoping for, then yes, it'll suck. But if you go into it thinking, I'm so lucky I'm getting married today, I'm with the person I love, the people that are really important to me are here with me, and no matter what the day is, I'm going to enjoy it.
Okay, so I'm going to say something.
Of course you are.
I'm going to start again, right? Because it's going to be evil, right? It's not going to be evil. It's just going to be a zinger.
Oh God, no one's ever going to book us again.
Sulky pants needs to get their head out of the sand.
Sulky pants.
And be aware of what's going to happen. It's not going to be the same wedding day. Don't try and have the same wedding day that you could have had last September. Okay,
so I'm going to ask you a question.
Yeah.
When do you think that wedding day, where there is no restrictions, where there is many people as you want, where there's no social distancing, and there's a proper run up to it, when is that happening?
So like the virus is gone, either it's naturally got lost or there's a vaccine.
Exactly.
Okay, I wouldn't even try to have a wedding until 2022.
Ooh.
Okay.
We're never going to eat again. It's beans on toast from here on out.
Okay, we're going to do podcasts. Someone's going to sponsor us a $5 podcast and we're going to be rich.
Oh.
This time next year we could be millionaires. Okay, so I would, like if someone was saying to me, the flip side is I'm having 250 people to my wedding.
Right.
And I want to have the big run-up experience that you're talking about. I want to have the hen and the stag. I want to go away for a hen, and I want to come back and have a second hen
afterwards,
and a big honeymoon and stuff like this. It's not happening in 2021. And
but I think
that's probably
the longer we are, the longer we're within a social distancing kind of world, the more we'll get used to it. So I think the idea of it will become less and less.
Oh, I'm telling you,
negative. I think we'll just get so used to it though that people won't mind.
Yeah, by Christmas I think we should be all in a different mindset, and we will have learned new traits, and we will have new behaviours, and we will go. And I suppose you can see that when you go to the supermarket, that people aren't freaking out about queuing up outside. They're cool about it. And inside, people kind of pause and they wait for someone to clear off before they go to a shelf. You don't have people reaching in, causing trouble.
Sneezing on you.
I saw one sneezing all over the deli counter.
I saw that,
it's okay.
We're not buying from there today.
Just move along. So, you're right. Come October, November, December, we could all have learned a new way of behaving in social settings, and we could all accept that this is how you have a party now.
Yeah.
But sulky pants who won't get her head out of the sand, or his head out of the sand, because he wants to have it his way, because that's his dream wedding type stuff, and he's just unrealistic to the restrictions. It's the same with the crybabies who want to go more than 2 kilometers. There, I said it. They're crybabies.
The people we watch drive past our gate every day, driving to the woods.
They don't live here.
They don't live here. We live here. They don't live here.
Get out of our country.
Get out of our
They're
country.
taking our jobs.
What the
They took our jobs.
They took our jobs.
Okay, so but in the same way, I don't understand where people want to go. Can we not all just sit in for 2 more months? Like, if you all sat in for 2 more months and the virus just went away, we got down.
Happy days.
We just got down to 0.
Yeah.
And we just tried to have a big proper wedding, and we just started off the count again. It might work out, and somebody can have their epic wedding.
Yeah.
If the virus was 0.
But if people just get imaginative, you can still have an epic wedding.
Yeah.
Within restrictions, within social distancing, but you need to be someone that can get creative, and you need to be someone that's willing to accept change.
Okay. So
and we don't like to accept change.
No, we don't.
Most people don't.
No.
And it takes a long time for that to sink in.
Well, it took, like, I was having my weddings in March.
I know you were, love.
And it took me a while to accept the change that we weren't allowed to have a wedding in March.
I was just leaving you to it. I was leaving you to it. I left you make all those Excel sheets.
But now I've gone to the other extreme of, when I accepted that we couldn't have weddings, I'm now of the opinion we're not having weddings. And I'm like trying to...
People will still get married. We just need to find a new way of doing it.
Just needs to get there.
Yeah. But I think people need to consider that.
Okay. So September is kind of a risky one. And
then we're going into October.
Okay.
So it's going to be... I think there's more...
So yeah, that's September.
Yes.
Okay. And there we were saying the 4th week, the 5th week, the 6th week, the 7th week-ish from the 10th of August. October as a month in a whole is kind of week 8 to week 12.
Yes.
Away from hotel being open, bar and hotel being open.
Much more chance of it actually happening by then.
Okay. So on the 10th of August, they have 8 to 12 weeks to invite all their guests.
Which is like you're going back to traditional way of doing things. That's when you would invite your guests, maybe 3 months before the wedding anyway. Some people don't do it until 2 months before the wedding.
Okay.
You only need a month's notice when it comes to RSVPs. Usually.
Sure, nobody's up to anything.
No, they're all going to say yeah.
You reckon?
They're all going to say yeah if they're healthy and they're happy to interact and they want a day out. Obviously, there's going to be the few that are just a little bit nervous and they don't want to be involved in that type of situation.
Okay. So, are the few people that are nervous, are they sensible or not sensible?
Sensible.
Okay.
Depending on their age, depending on their health conditions, if they're young and extremely healthy and things are looking good, and the government and the HSE and everything have given the green light to do these things, then I don't see a reason not to go. Okay.
So your wedding is in October, whatever your numbers are. Mm-hmm. You invite people. Is there going to be a restriction on number in October?
Well, and this is you were the one that said this, and it actually made me think that
phase 6. Well, I was calling it phase 6, but actually, it's actually
endgame.
Is there? No. They have, while phase 5 is tagged to be 3 weeks, they have not said on the 31st of August, say.
Yes.
They have not said, we'll let you run free.
No, what they have said is that there will be a new normal, that there will be restrictions and social distancing in place until the vaccine is available. And a lot of people have said this multiple times, including Tony.
Okay, so Tony is going to tell us that there's a new normal and there's indoor restrictions of gatherings of 100 people.
Yeah. Until there's a vaccine.
Until we tell you otherwise.
Yeah. I don't see how they can... the coronavirus, I don't think is going to disappear. And I don't see how they can go from being... They've been so good up to now. They've really kind of looked after us
the medical
as a nation.
People.
They really have. I don't see them just completely letting loose and saying, go wild, fill your nightclubs, fill your dance floors, do what you want... in and out of your nursing homes, in and out of your... there's no way they're going to let us loose. I think they're going to have to keep some control over it by controlling people until they can have a vaccine to control it. Okay, so now it's May bank holiday weekend. Yeah. We have to presume that there's a new normal with restrictions, number of restrictions and social distancing, the 2 meter rule. I've come to terms with that. That's no, but in terms of what? With the fact that there will be social distancing and restrictions in place for the foreseeable.
Okay. So that could be in place in October, November, December.
Yes. I'm running into early 21.
Until we're told otherwise.
Until we're told otherwise. Unless it magically disappears.
The Big Bang.
There is no more cases.
I reckon we're
no
going to wake
deaths.
up one morning and somebody's going to go, I did it.
I did what?
It's gone. I cleaned the place. I got the bleach out and everywhere's sorted. I even bleached you.
Oh,
so,
man.
actually, do you know, he got off of abuse, but people bleach things that they shouldn't be bleaching.
They do, darling.
Yeah.
That's right.
So what if we all just bleached our places that we shouldn't be bleaching and
I
then
don't
we
think
got rid of it?
you can bleach your internal organs.
Okay.
They had a big discussion about this
Big
afterwards.
day, yeah, they had to tell people.
They put warnings out there. People did actually die though.
And I got so excited when Dr. Tony Houlihan told you not to be getting medical advice off Donald Trump.
It was hilarious. I
was
think you
beautiful.
actually fell off the chair. You were so happy.
So happy.
We're going to talk more about Tony now on this than weddings.
Okay,
But,
so October, November, December,
but in saying that, like I honestly am much more optimistic
Yeah.
for multiple weddings going forward
Yeah.
as of October within restrictions and social distancing.
Okay, you potentially have enough number of weeks to kind of do a normal invite.
Yeah.
Yes, you know that you have to have lower numbers.
And you can get creative with how you're going to have your day within the restrictions once the restrictions are made clear to us, because they're not clear at the moment.
Could you have two, you know, the second day?
Yes.
Could you invite 100 people on the first day and a different 100 people on the second day?
Don't see why not.
And just have...
Two weddings.
You could just keep going through the night. You'd never get rid of the 100 people from
We'd
the
have
first
to,
day,
we'd
would you?
have to do 2-day packages so we can capture them all. 2-day packages.
Wow. Double money.
Double money from no money at the moment.
Cha-ching.
Still wouldn't make up for the loss of the summer.
Okay, so if a person said to me, my October grand, we've kind of done that one. But so if someone said, my wedding's in November and December, should I postpone? At the moment, you're kind of saying...
I'm saying,
wait.
Don't fully postpone. But what I have said from the beginning to my 2020 couples, and I know not everybody's going to agree with me on this, you need to have a plan B.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
We're going to have to talk about plan Bs.
Yeah, I'm just throwing it in there. I think if you are October through to December 2020, you need to have a plan B. The reason I'm saying that is because the uncertainties are there. We've just talked through it all. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what restrictions are there. We don't know what social distancing, and we don't know if the phases are actually going to go ahead as planned.
Are you sure you want to say plan B now? Because
I'm calling it plan B.
Well, does all of our couples from November, December at the moment, are they in for plan Bs?
Majority.
Okay, they are.
Yeah.
Jesus, I'm on this.
You're on this.
Okay, so let's discuss plan Bs.
A lot of them, they started off calling it a plan B, but I have had correspondence back from them since, even into December, saying we've had more time to think about it. We're now changing what we're calling a plan B to our new definite date, and we're completely postponing.
Yeah, well, there's two different...
And it's the gradual progression of things. But I just think, right, and the reason I'm saying this is that 2021...
Yeah.
If 2021 happens, 2021 is going to be the busiest year we have ever seen for weddings. We are trying to cram 2 years of weddings into one.
So at the moment, right?
Availability
I looked at
almost non-existent. Did you actually have a look, love? Did you?
I did a spreadsheet. I got a spreadsheet out, right?
Right.
So I compared at the start of May, on the 1st of May, because I got very excited, because it's really like it's a cut-off point.
As you can tell, Benny loves a spreadsheet and a good Excel sheet.
Okay.
I'm not allowed to touch half this because I apparently break it.
Like it was priceless the other day when we came in to have a little meeting, and you just dragged something down and
drag the formula. Be grand.
Murder the formula, murder the projection, and you didn't even know what you're doing, and you just giggled afterwards when I said, "What are you doing?" And you just continued to do it.
I just pressed the back button. It's fine.
Grand, yeah, undo. So I looked on the 1st of May. I looked at our sales this year versus last year in terms of the next year that was coming.
Right.
So in 2021 we had pretty much the same amount of sales, normal sales for next year. Okay, but we had 24 more dates tagged, and they're either tagged as Plan Bs or new alternatives.
And the way it's gone now is the majority are new alternatives. It's minimal Plan Bs.
You don't think those 24s are made up of a lot of Plan Bs? That will not happen? No, it's
changed. It was a lot of Plan Bs to begin with.
Yeah.
But literally every single day I get an email from someone going, it's no longer a Plan B, it's now a definite new date.
Okay, because they're done.
They're done. They're out of here. Yeah.
Okay, so 2021 in terms of availability is going to be difficult for everybody because it's kind of double...
you're trying to fit 2 years into one.
But
it's Everybody from 2020 jumped into 2021. There's only a certain amount of days in the week. I mean, for us, like, you're looking at May, June, July, September, October, and November are done. They're done weekends, they're done midweek.
You mean in 2021?
In 2021. We've got nothing left. We cannot put any more weddings in because we have to edit all these weddings. We have to physically get there. We travel. There's only so many weddings we can do a week. We are absolutely, and we're beyond what we agreed to do usually. We're beyond capacity.
Well, no, yeah. So, like, I'm willing to work hard for 2021.
Oh, you weren't given a choice. Up. We are working hard. I've put it in already.
I know, but like, outside of we want to catch up ourselves in terms of our own business, but
I want to look after my 2020
but you want to look after your couples.
I really do. And like, I kind of feel like I've got much more of a relation. I've always had a good relationship with our couples, but when it comes to the 2020 couples, I feel so much more of a connection with them because I feel like I've gone through this with them. And
I see that from the emails. I can't read emails to an extent because I just start crying.
Oh, you're so emotional. I haven't cried. Have you cried yet about this? Because I haven't cried. I bet you have.
There was an Italian man on the other day, and he's an old geezer that was just on the street, and he just broke down crying in front of the journalist. He didn't even get a chance to say anything, and then the journalist just asked him, what would you like to say to people? And he just said, hold on. And
you're going to cry.
I'm going to cry.
Oh my God. What are we going to do with you?
I don't know.
You're such an emotional wreck. He's actually crying. There is tears. You okay? Do you need a hug?
No.
Okay.
Not from you.
No. Anyway, I'm obviously the rock in this relationship. Otherwise, this is why Benny's not doing postponements. He'd be crying.
But people come back and they say such lovely things.
They do. In fairness, they do. Like, even things like, the Instagram stories every day, and it's for me. I do it every day, and I don't do it for myself. I do it for the people out there because people message me every day saying, your stories are actually giving me so much positivity. They're keeping me going. They're moving me forward, and just thanking me for bothering to actually do it because I don't have to do it. And at the moment, I can't say that I'm enjoying it because it is very sad for you, but it is very negative. And you get these messages from people, and they're so heartfelt, and it's so lovely. And they don't have to. Sometimes people just reach out for no other reason but just to say thank you.
Yeah.
And it's just like that genuine type of behaviour from people. You just don't see it all the time anymore. And it's so, so lovely. I really, really appreciate it.
Okay, so 2021, it's full a lot. So a lot of people now, the remaining people of 2020, if they're unfortunate and they can't have their wedding for whatever reason.
I'm sorry, this was the point I'm trying to get to. This is why I'm not encouraging people to have doubts about their wedding. I'm not trying to upset them that their wedding may or may not happen when it comes to the end of 2020, but the possibility is always going to be there. And if you leave putting a plan B in place too late, you are running the risk of not being able to get married in 2021 because your venue won't have dates left, your suppliers won't have dates left, the dates also have to match up with your own availability, your family's availability, people might be travelling. There's a lot of things to actually consider when it comes to actually putting a date in place. And you could potentially be going into 2022. Now, some of our couples have voluntarily just decided, I'm getting away from 2020, I'm leaping over 2021, and I'm going straight into 2022 because I still want to have a Friday wedding and I can't get a Friday in 2021 anymore.
Okay.
They've moved.
As a brief example, what type of months do you kind of have dates in, roughly?
We've got January, February, March and December. The thing about it is with January, it's so close to December. If you're moving out of a November, December date and you're only pushing it to January, and I think that's why my January and February are still available, it's because they're so close to the original date. People they want to jump further away. They want to get to the other end of 2021.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is.
But if you're willing to have the restricted numbers wedding, say,
now in saying that, it's midweek, January, February, and March. There's very little weekends there.
But there's more of a chance of a weekend wedding in those early months.
Oh, there would be, 100%. Yeah.
Okay, so briefly on Plan B, because I've heard all sorts of bizarre explanation as to what a Plan B is and the caveats to what it is. What's your Plan B?
Okay, so my Plan B is, and I have had people thank me for doing it this way because it's relieving a lot of stress, is we are allowing our 2020 couples to put a second date in. We are not putting a time frame on when they have to let us know. that they're releasing their original date, but we are asking them that as soon as they make a decision to contact us. We are not charging a second deposit to hold a second date. We are not doing anything like that. Now, the majority of couples that put a plan B in have just naturally come back to me in their own time, and didn't even take that long, and just said, right, the decision is made, change it from plan B to definite new date. So it naturally...
But they don't need to do that.
They don't need to do that, but it just naturally happened. People were just nice about it.
But that was probably... but as it was getting
been
closer...
pressure from venue and other people as well, telling them to make a decision, and it filtered down to
You reckon?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so that's a plan B, right?
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
We've kind of answered the next question in a long way, but if someone contacts you and goes, my wedding's coming up and it's not going to happen, when do I postpone my wedding to? I suppose we've kind of talked about the difficulty in trying to get into 2021, but you can get into 2021, or do you go to 2022? But just to kind of summarise that up, you'd only say to someone, go to 2022 if they wanted this big, epic wedding, normal wedding that you've kind of said.
Or they definitely wanted a Saturday in June or something like that. They originally had a June wedding at the weekend, and they still want that. The day in the season actually means a lot to the person, so they want to stick with what they initially envisioned. Other people are quite happy just to move to a date that's available. It might mean changing the season, day of the week, but they don't mind as long as they get it.
If we were to summarise this all up, I thought at the start that we were going to come across really negative, that the whole wedding industry were going to go, Laura and Benny are way out of whack, and what are they doing trying to kill off their business or something like that. But realistically, we've actually turned around. I think, like for instance, September. I'm up for September now. If you're trying to have a wedding, you could use the digital option and kind of try and make it happen. And October, November, December, on that basis of the digital option, they're seeming to me far more viable now than the fear of they won't have.
Yeah, no, it's just people being willing to the alternative wedding. Alternative weddings used to mean something else.
Yes.
Now they used to be great when it meant like red wedding dress, and it was great crack. But now an alternative wedding just means it's just a little bit different from the norm. And there's a lot of people out there that will be okay with that.
Yeah. And
there's a lot of people out there that will not want to entertain it. They'll just it's just not something that they see as a day they'll enjoy.
It's not how they saw their wedding day.
No, and we all kind of envisioned our wedding, like I know I did.
In our own way.
In our own way, yeah. And it's and you try to bring that vision together for your wedding, and weddings they're such a big occasion, and there's so much hype that goes into it.
Okay.
And it's not just about the couple themselves. Yes, it's the couple's day, and I'm very much, you have your day the way you want to have your day, but at the same time it's about your mom and your dad and your brothers and your sisters and your close family and your bridesmaids and your groomsmen. It is a big event with a lot of people to factor in.
Yeah, potentially you're not having that traditional big normal day.
Big white wedding.
Okay, it's definitely going to be a world of new normal in 2020. We don't have a clue what 2021 is going to be like. We're only I
don't think we will have a clue either until
and it was just
a long time. It'll be towards the end of the year before we have an inclination of where it's going.
Yeah, I mean, like the reason why we spoke about what it was like 8 weeks ago to where we are now. In 8 weeks' time, it's probably going to be completely different again.
Hopefully for the best.
Hopefully for the best in 8 weeks' time. But like, it could be totally cleaned up in 8 weeks' time, or it could be totally getting worse in 8 weeks' time. In 16 weeks' time, again, it's totally unknown. You can't guess
it. Then there's the dreaded second wave that people are talking about, which I try not to even acknowledge because I can't factor that in. There's enough going on at the moment without having like a relapse on this would just be. I can't think about it.
Yeah. So the what you're trying to predict. So in the same of what should your wedding happen or should you postpone your wedding is the same as trying to guess whether it's going to be a second wave or whether it's going to be a vaccine.
100%. Yeah.
So if you can't guess whether there's going to be a second wave or a vaccine, you can't guess whether your wedding's going to happen, and that's just the exposure, and people have to be able to accept that or not accept that.
Yeah. Okay. And it's all down to the individual. It's all down to their tolerance of what they're willing to go through.
Bottom line, it's personal tolerance. It's your wedding day. Go from yourself and your partner and work out in terms of health and tolerance fun.
Yes, because it needs to be fun. It needs to be positive. It's so negative at the moment. Everyone's in kind of such bad form over it, and I really can't wait for. I haven't heard excitement out of a couple about their wedding day in such a long time. Like the excitement of the little details of the day. I can't wait for that to come back because that's what it's about.
Like I think
people have forgotten that a little bit.
I think when we start off, we have a couple of small ones, and I think the fun and the excitement of those days, and when you see someone get married, and the kind of the joy and the buzz of actually getting married in that moment.
I might
You're going to cry.
I might cry.
You didn't even cry at our wedding.
I know I did. You did though.
I did cry, but I'm a crier. You've only cried that I remember at one wedding.
Oh yeah.
Before.
Somebody else's wedding. It was too working. It was too emotional.
It was an epic Hollywood moment.
It was a Hollywood moment. My goodness.
We won't tell the story.
No, we won't.
Because it's a long story.
Yeah.
But it's true the way it happens in movies because we've seen it so many different situations.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't believe it if someone had forgotten the words when they were singing a song, and the bride, who cannot sing, hasn't a note in her head, and she told us she only realised that actually I can't sing. She stood up to sing and to save this person in the church.
It was amazing.
And then she realised
I can't sing.
I don't have a note in my head, but she took the lyrics and she just sang.
Went for it.
And she saved the person, and it was epic.
Yeah.
And Laura cried.
Right. I did.
There was glistening in her eyes.
I was actually embarrassed. I was like, stop crying. Oh my goodness, you're supposed to be taking photos.
But so when they write the silly scenes in movies, they do actually happen.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
But I to end this.
Yes.
I can't wait for all these weddings that had to be postponed.
Yeah.
To be there when the wedding happens, because weddings they're so surreal. Emotions, so much emotions, so much happiness, and we get to live this all the time, and it really is like it's such a special thing. But actually being there when they actually finally get to get married, I think the emotions are just going to be
epic.
Oh, it's going to be unbelievable. I'm going to be drained from the emotional energy.
Okay, so we're going to sign off, and I'm going to do an impromptu. We're going to do like a little jingle, like.
Oh, we are?
Yeah.
Okay, I can't sing.
No, you could do your doop-de-doop.
Doop-de-doop-de-doop.
Okay.
Benny laughs at me every time that comes on the radio. I don't know the words, so I just like doop along to it.
and change the lyrics.
And change the lyrics.
So I'm going to sign off. I'm going to go, I'm Benny Benson.
And I'm Laura Redhead Benson.
That was so cheesy. Okay.
I know, I think we should do a stay safe, stay classy San Diego for the laugh.
Oh, right, yeah, because you kind of nailed it in the last one. So it's like,
Yeah.
Right. I'm Benny Benson.
And I'm Laura Redhead Benson.
You stay safe.
Stay classy.
Cork?
No, because we're not just Cork.
Munster?
Ireland.
Leinster? Ireland?
Oh, you gotta do it properly.
You gotta go?
Yeah.
Okay. Do. I'm Benny Benson.
And I'm Laura Redhead Benson. Doop.
I'm Benny Benson.
And I'm Laura Redhead Benson.
Stay safe.
Stay classy, Ireland.